Mass Effect Andromeda. I don't think there's a game out there that gives me more mixed emotions than this one. I love the game, but I don't. I love the companions, but I don't. I love the gameplay, but I don't. I love the protagonist. Okay, that one's just a lie. But if you've played Andromeda, then you know what I'm talking about. This was a good game that was supposed to be great. A sequel that felt like it made mistakes even the first Mass Effect avoided. I wanted so badly to fall in love with this game like I did the original trilogy, and in some ways I did. Despite how crazy it may sound, I still prefer this game to the Outer Worlds and Starfield. Now, nearly 9 years after its release, I can say that I've completed a full insanity run of the game and have seen pretty much all it has to offer. I'm ready to talk about Andromeda, what I thought about it, both good and bad, and dive into this game's troubled development that led to its disastrous launch and reception. Let's start with gameplay. Honestly, one of the things I would say Andromeda improved compared to the original trilogy. It released at a time when open world games were all the rage, and as such completely changes the formula Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 had established. A largely linear, cover-based shooter with a strong emphasis on RPG elements and player choice through the Paragon/Renegade dialogue choices. The only part of the formula that Andromeda seemed to retain was shooter, and cover in very small, low opacity font. Linear storytelling has been taken out back and shot, exchanged for multiple large open world areas with dozens of half-baked, go collect 5 of this item, or go to this part of the map, interact with something, and come back missions. These missions have zero real stake outside of making the magical colonization percentage increase on each planet, just so you can unbox another upgrade for your little space station. Congratulations. The core gameplay of shooting, taking cover, and using powers is for the most part pretty good. It's a strong point of Andromeda, and meant that despite how weak the story was, or how little I cared about the characters, I was having fun shooting people in the face. However, it wasn't perfect. I found the gameplay to be particularly annoying, as I've played all games in the franchise exclusively on insanity difficulty. It gets unbelievably frustrating when I'm expected to take cover behind 2 pebbles while being surrounded by a dozen bullet sponges that take cover less often than your average Redditor takes showers. The mechanics are solid, but when I have to land 2 clips worth of max level sniper rifle rounds on an enemy's head, I'm gonna start getting annoyed. And holy fuck, don't get me started on the Remnant bosses. You thought Mass Effect 2 had tanky enemies? Boot this shit up, man. I feel like I'm going insane. I felt I was forced into the modern equivalent of a Skyrim stealth archer build, as I sat in a different zip code to most enemies, cloaked, and just waited for headshots. Okay, insanity difficulty is insanely difficult, who would have fucking thought? How about the RPG elements? The old Paragon and Renegade choices have been swapped out for a dialogue wheel containing emotional, logical, casual, and professional options. I honestly don't mind this change, as in the original trilogy I found myself just defaulting to either the blue or red option based on what type of run I was doing. Andromeda's system actually had me thinking about how I wanted to approach a conversation, and shaped Ryder's personality. And God, actually labeling the cutscene interrupts instead of just showing the Paragon or Renegade symbol, absolute lifesaver. I hated in the original trilogy when I'd be doing a Paragon run and think, a Renegade interrupt, I bet he's gonna say something badass, only for him to sock some random person in the face. But let's be real, that reporter bitch deserved it. Let's move on to companions. Companions in Andromeda are okay. That's it, video over. I'm normally of the opinion that as long as I care that they exist and would be sad if they died, then I feel companions are doing their part. We'll get to your fucking stupid ass later. Every single companion on the Tempest at the very least felt unique. Even the Krogan, who I very much expected to just be a copy and paste of either Rex or Grunt. I love that the loyalty missions are a series of smaller missions and tasks that expand naturally as Ryder gets to know the crew better. I found it to be a serious improvement over the one and done nature of the previous games. My biggest problem with them is that they're just so shallow. I went through all the optional dialogue with all of them just to get to know them better, but they hardly say anything in dialogue except for
"This isn't right,"
or
shit.
They seem to be allergic to actual character development. As an example, I want to single out Liam as one of the worst written characters in the entire franchise. I know we all harp on about Jacob, but like, come on, man. He's just so goddamn boring.
Change of plan?
The most interesting thing he does in the story is try to organize a movie night. He instantly got relegated to the Tempest, never to be seen again. Oh, and he's British, so he gets points deducted for that as well. But enough about side characters. Let's talk about the protagonist. Old mate definitely had some big boots to fill after Shepard. As opposed to Shepard in the original trilogy, who could at least have some backstory decided by you, Ryder is essentially a blank slate. This isn't a bad thing, and often works better in RPG games as it allows the player to project themselves onto the protagonist and roleplay as the character. But I just could not stop myself from comparing Ryder's writing to Shepard's. The original trilogy's writing was just leagues better than Andromeda's, plain and simple. I don't know how to convey it other than the shit Ryder says always sounds video gamey, like some out-of-place Marvel quip.
Change of plan?
This, combined with a dialogue wheel that feels near Fallout 4 levels of railroady, makes choices feel frankly useless. I felt no matter what I chose, the outcome was going to be the same or very similar. And quite frankly, it sucks, because I have no problem with Ryder's voice actor. Tom Taylorson does a great job as far as I'm concerned, but the writing just lets him down and means he fell flat for me. Had the story been more interesting, high stakes, and darker in tone, I think we could have had something truly great with Ryder. But that brings us to my final problem with this game, its overarching plot and setting. I cannot even begin to convey the absolute shock to the system I felt upon completing Mass Effect 3 and starting Andromeda. To go from a ludicrously high-stakes story about stopping a threat so monstrous in scale it wipes out entire galaxies, to, hey guys, go make those planets livable and kill a few mean aliens while you're at it. What the fuck? I didn't want Reapers 2 Electric Boogaloo, but come on man, the kit are just pathetic. The fucking Scourge, a literal cloud in space, seems to do more to stop us than the kit. An antagonist this weak following up a threat like the Reapers is just ridiculous. No one who has played the original games was going to find this threat intimidating. Not to mention you hardly see them for most of the game as you just go about your day doing chores on each planet to establish a colony. The entire time you feel completely disinterested in the story and experience serious ludonarrative dissonance as you just fuck around with all the side content. All the while, people are supposedly starving back on the Nexus and the arcs are in serious peril. But don't worry guys, I found a shiny new rock to study. Only 14 more and I can redeem my Reddit gold from the Nexus. So now you know some of my opinions on what I liked and what I didn't from Andromeda. But it's time for you to hear some facts. To put it simply, the game was rigged from the start. As we all know, EA are absolute geniuses, so you won't be surprised to hear that Mass Effect, one of their most widely praised and critically acclaimed franchises of all time, was handed off to a smaller supporting studio, BioWare Montreal. A smaller studio that in the past had only worked on things like DLCs and ports for the original team. While the star-studded team that worked on the original trilogy, BioWare Edmonton, was assigned to, drumroll please, Anthem. Woo, yeah, baby! If you're a fan of Fallout, then this will sound all too familiar. Beloved franchise handed off to a smaller, less experienced studio, with the resulting game flopping hard. Now this would be bad enough, right? Prioritizing money over making a good game and basically giving a big fuck you to your entire community. Well, EA also decided, hey, fuck it. Make them do it all in a different engine as well. The devs were forced to use the Frostbite Engine, one of EA's in-house engines originally built for Battlefield, instead of the previously used Unreal Engine. Of course, this was done to save money. Because executives and management have no earthly clue how game development actually works, the engine being used to develop an RPG didn't include any RPG elements. This meant that a significant amount of the development cycle was taken up building these systems from scratch, like inventory management, dialogue systems, and more, instead of making new content for the game. To make things even better, 18 months into the development cycle, the entire scope of the game changed. The original plan was to have a large amount of procedurally generated planets, a la No Man's Sky, but then this was scrapped in favor of handcrafted planets. Maybe one of the only good choices that was made with this game's development, but it still served to increase difficulty for the developers. All of this bumbling around, and Anthem still ended up basically dead on arrival, with Andromeda feeling like a spit in the face compared to the original trilogy. All of this led to exits from people who made BioWare what it was, and led to the merger of BioWare Montreal into EA Motive Studios in 2017. And in typical fashion, management and execs weren't laid off, but developers who pulled long hours and worked their asses off to make this game, They sure were. What I'm trying to get at here is that despite this game's shortcomings, for the most part, I don't blame the developers at BioWare. I blame the clowns responsible for managing them. The higher-ups at EA and BioWare. The people that insist that shareholder value is the only method of determining whether a game is successful or not. The sociopaths that assure us that replacing young developers with AI is better for the industry because they make more money. This was just a few of the idiotic decisions EA executives have made over the years. My point with all of this yapping is this: Andromeda is a good game that was set up for failure, not because of lack of skill or effort from any of the developers, but rather because of continuous setups and failures by management and execs. I hold out hope for the next Mass Effect, because this is quite frankly BioWare's last shot. Their reputation is gone, but I know that the people working on this are some world-class talent. They just need some greedy execs to keep their grubby little hands out of this game's development. I don't want Andromeda to just fade away. I want it to be an example of what happens when profits are put over the interest of players. Until next time.